Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi everybody, welcome back to Raising Confident Girls. I am Melissa, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. I'm excited because this is in the US, the end of the school year. So in the US, it's typically like May, June. And so this is an exciting time of year. Now, if you're international, if you're listening from another country where, like my friends in New Zealand, I know that this is not the end of your school year, but maybe you could save this one for when this will apply to you. I always think it's good to hear the insight ahead of time anyway. So in the US, it is very near to the end of the school year, and that means a spring schedule, which means a lot of busyness. And although this can be a really exciting time of year, it also can feel a bit chaotic. So I thought that this episode, we would spend some time thinking about little things that you can do with your daughter to protect her peace and yours, and also throw in a little bit of fun. So when I was a teacher for over 23 years, if you didn't know that about me, I know that this time of year is very busy with wrapping things up, making sure that you get like all of your units wrapped up, all of your assessments done. You have to turn in a bunch of things and get all of your data in for the school year and like the learning progress. And you also have to manage field day and class parties and end of year celebration type of things. And if you are at the end of a grade in a school, then that's the celebration of that grade. And typically teachers will still do a mini celebration in the classroom regardless of their age. But those milestone ages such as kindergarten, fifth grade, eighth grade, things like that, and even high school graduation obviously is a big deal. It can tend to make things a bit crazy in the school day. And I know it can be like that with parents too, because I hear from a lot of parents that this is when spring going into summer sports pick up. And this is when you might have a program at your church or at your school. And this is where we're finalizing grades and trying to make sure that our kids are still going to finish strong. And, you know, there can be last minute changes in schedules due to trying to juggle all the things, especially if you have multiple children in multiple sports. I hear that from a lot of my parents, is that when you have a child doing one sport and then another child doing another sport, you've got a tag team in your family who's going to take them where. And then if you have 3 children, it's about, or more, it's about really carpooling and doing all of those things. So it can feel a little bit crazy this time of year, but there are ways to slow down. There are ways to protect your peace. And I would love to share this with you today. And what I noticed as a teacher, especially, is the kids are they're either usually run in 2 different categories. They either check out early and they think that in their minds, they don't really have to do much because it's the end of the year. It doesn't really matter that much. It won't really affect them or their grades or their progress or anything. And so they kind of start to pull back a little bit of their focus and their attention to projects and just wanting to get things checked off their lists. So that's one category. And it doesn't mean that they're a low achiever. It could be a high achiever who feels like that they've done enough to where they can kind of pull back a little. And, or it could be someone who's like been overwhelmed for a while and they're just ready to be done. So that's one category. And the other would be the person who wants to finish strong, the the girl who really wants to still do well, and she might be putting a little bit of pressure on herself with finals or tests or finishing up projects, or a lot of times they'll be finishing stories that they are writing in a writing class, or taking, finishing a book and taking an exam on that, or whatever it would be. So there's just a lot going on. There's usually like an outdoor unit of some kind where they're studying plants, or they're growing their own plants, and things aren't always going smoothly, and things like that. And there are also a lot of really happy times at the end of the year. So kids are very excited. They are, they're a little bit distracted just generally because the weather's warmer. There's more going on. They know there are changes in schedule. They know there are special events coming up, and it can kind of get them a little bit distracted at times, and which is normal. So it's about acknowledging that and knowing that that's completely fine, and not losing sight of the things that are important at the end of the school year, and definitely not wanting to nosedive into bad habits or old ways of doing things that didn't serve your daughter or you. So I know that, if you think about even food can change when you're traveling a lot. Is like you don't have necessarily meal times together. If you've got kids in multiple sports and you're running around, or you're volunteering at the school carnival, or you're, doing different things that you normally wouldn't do at any other time of the school year, then you're really looking for a quick meal, or you're probably eating in the car, or maybe at the field of wherever your child is playing the sport. And that's okay. This is never about like beating yourself up about it or anything like that, because we all have those seasons, and it's about doing little things that'll make life easier. So that's where I come in. One of the things that I think is really crucial at the end of the school year, especially when emotions are heightened, because this can often be another time with girls where friendships can be strained at the end of the year. Either there's been something going on for a while and it's kind of coming to a head at the end of the school year, or they want to be around other people and they're trying to branch out, but they've got their main group of friends, and then there's some conflict about that. Or they're just feeling a little bit disconnected from their friends, whatever that would be. This can be a very emotional time of year for girls, especially those girls that are transitioning into more of that adolescent puberty age, or knowing that they're going into another grade level. You might start to see changes in her mood, or in the way that she views things, and even in what she values as important. So she might be putting her friends ahead of you, and that might feel a little bit uncomfortable, or she might be wanting to spend more time doing a certain thing, and that might be out of the norm. So that is something that's very common at the end of the school year, especially with friendships in the classroom. This is oftentimes where I would see a lot of miscommunication, or they would get into little conflicts here and there more than usual, because everyone's kind of anticipating the end of the year, and they're also just, everything seems really heightened at the end of the year. So how can you, as a caregiver, as a parent, help your daughter with that? So just trust that teachers know these things, they're doing their best, and you giving them that safe place at home is really crucial. And the first thing is having those positive affirmations or mantras to say every morning, or maybe before they go to bed, or if they have a tough time, maybe coming up with something, a phrase that will help her, and having her help in that. Like, do you feel like you need a little pep talk during the day, or what could we do to start our day in a positive way? And that could be, I've got this, we can do this. Or it could be, keep moving forward, summer's almost here. Whatever it is, you come up with a little catchphrase that you say to each other every morning to start her day off well and start yours off too. And then reminding her of, that we talk about this all the time in Girls Positivity Club. You are always your best cheerleader. So you have to be your first cheerleader. Yes, you want to surround yourself with people who cheer you on. And naturally, as her caregiver or parent, you're going to want to do that. But it's really important as a reminder to say, okay, what's a phrase you can say to yourself if you get frustrated with friends today? Or what is something that if you're doing a hard assignment or you don't feel like finishing something to your best ability, but you know you need to or want to, what could you say to yourself as your own cheerleader, as your own encourager? And what would you say to a friend? If you saw a friend was really having a hard time with something or just needed a little extra pep, like, okay, we've got this, we can do this, what would you say to her? So that's a good way to frame it and just to get in the habit every day. That's really simple. If she rides a bus, you could say right before she gets on the bus, right before she walks outside, you guys could do that, hug, high five, whatever that would be in your family. And then having that in the back of her mind and reminding her to use that phrase throughout her day to help her. So that's one thing. Another one is to have those moments where you have that mindful moment together. So that could be you go for a walk every evening together if you have time to do that, or you just do some breathing together, like you just pause and you take some breaths together. And especially if you feel like you're running around, you can say, hey, let's just take a second. Let's take a box breath together. Let's like breathe for like 3 seconds in and 3 seconds out, or whatever you want to do. And just taking that moment right before practice, right before any time, right before bed to just like calm her mind or whatever it would be is really important. Or even taking off your socks and shoes and standing in the grass. That is such a good way to ground and just kind of get yourself back in the present moment. If anything ever feels overwhelming and you've noticed that she's needing just a minute, nature is so healing. And just even going outside, taking your socks and shoes off and just standing in the grass and breathing together, or just closing your eyes and just doing that for a minute, sitting under a tree, whatever it would be, that would be a very good thing to do to just bring yourself back to the present moment. And, I always love to do anything that gets things out of you that aren't serving you. So I'm a huge fan of writing things down and ripping them up. And that's something that the girls really enjoy, is if you notice that tornado in your mind, just having her, if she's describing that to you, having her write it down and rip it up. And you can do the same thing with her. It could be a fun activity. You don't have to read each other's. You don't have to read it out loud. You don't have to recite it, but just writing down what's overwhelming you, what's on your mind, and then just ripping it to shreds and then throwing it together, throwing it away together is really powerful. Another thing that's helpful at this time of year is an organizational tool of some kind, a visual, a calendar. So if you have a lot going on, a lot of times, especially girls who want to know kind of what's ahead, I think everyone does, but just knowing, like, sometimes not knowing what's going on in the day can be stressful, and it can add a little bit of stress, especially if she knows that there's a lot going on or she has some deadlines coming up. So it's making that visual calendar of some kind. This can be simply a piece of paper that you write things down for the week, or it could be a calendar, like a visual calendar that you all share outside of your phones, that maybe hangs in a central place in your home where you highlight different things throughout the week that are coming up so that you all can be mindful of those. And those could be for everybody in the family. So if you have a big presentation at work, you could put that on there so that everyone knows that you might need a little extra help that day. And same thing with your daughter. If she has a big project due, knowing that she's going to need some extra support leading up to those days. So having that visual calendar. And then a fun kind of calendar to do is an end of school countdown calendar. Kids love doing these because it shows them the light at the end of the tunnel, especially as intense as finishing projects, doing a bunch of tests at the end of the school year can feel for them. Having that countdown to the end of the school year can be a really fun way to celebrate that, and also keep that near kind of that that big calendar that you have of all the events. And you can have them decorate it. I mean, you can literally just do it on a piece of paper and just write out how many days there are left and just do it like you could kind of like the advent calendars around the holidays is you can stack pieces of paper or sticky notes even and number them with how many days are left and do a countdown and do like have everybody do a picture. Maybe if you have a daughter who's super artistic, she could do just like a picture for it, and everybody can get involved in that. And then each day, as you start or end your day, you take a number off so that you only have so many days left until that school break, that summer break. And so that's another fun thing to do. And having open communication. I think sometimes we can forget to communicate during this time of year because everybody's so busy and your communication is basically like who's getting the kids from this and that. And you can forget to communicate and check in with your daughter too about how she's feeling, check in on her stress levels, ask what she needs to feel more peace or more in control of this time of year of the busyness, and also friends going to different classrooms next year, knowing that especially if they're transitioning to a new school, this could be a girl who's going to the next level of school, and this could be a new grade even. They're already thinking about the next year. Who will my teacher be? Will I like them? Will they be nice? Who will be in my class? Like I know it sounds silly, but they already start thinking ahead about some of those things before that school year even ends that they're currently in. So just keep that in mind too, especially if you have a girl who likes to plan ahead or she's already thinking about the future. Bringing her back to the present moment, doing those mindful things and thinking and telling her even, we will think about those things later. Let's now focus on what's right in front of us. It's good to plan big things and to think ahead, but we want to stay in the moment as much as we can and look ahead a little bit, but not necessarily go way into the future and start that anxiety or like worry thinking about things we can't control right now. And so just having that open communication, that check in with her, I think that the best check ins are usually at bedtime. And the car rides, I've talked to some moms recently, car rides and bedtime are that really great time to check in. Dinner time is a good connection time, but it's really not when they're going to open up. Usually it's going to be in the car, especially if they sit behind you. For whatever reason, it feels more open or more safe to talk about things. And then at bedtime is usually when our mind starts being really reflective. So just making sure that there's time for that. And I know that there can be rushed bedtimes and things, but at least doing a quick check-in with her about her yay, and then whatever your other routine is, and maybe anything on her mind that she wants to share if she just wants to get it out, and knowing that you're that safe person for her to share with if she needs that soft place, which we all do. Another thing is celebrating small victories. So things at the end of the school year can often feel overwhelming because there's so much to do. So just really planning in time to celebrate effort and celebrate those little victories. So whether it would be with an assignment like, hey, you got that turned in, that's great. You got another quiz checked off, or you're taking these steps to get that project done, like you're almost halfway there, and just really celebrating those little things. And also in her after school activities. So if she's in a club like Girls Positivity Club, celebrating what she's learning there. If it's a youth group, if it's sports, just really focusing on her effort and those little wins along the way. Yes, the big ones are great too, but reminding her of all these little things that are going well and that she's making progress, even if things aren't perfect. And reminding her of those healthy habits, especially at the end of the year. And that could be packing snacks ahead of time that are healthier in the car, especially if we're doing a grab and go where you've got to, maybe it's just like buying a box of healthier bars that you can just keep to grab and go. Or there's nothing wrong with grabbing something that's pre-packaged that's good quality. And then of course, if you have time to make your own, that's great, especially knowing your own daughter's preferences of things. Making sure you're all getting enough sleep if possible, and just really making sure that you're connecting in those small moments. It doesn't take a lot of time to connect and check in, and spending a little bit of time together each day, if possible, of doing something you both enjoy, even if it's going for a quick walk in your neighborhood or down to a stop sign and back or whatever it would be. Those little connection points really do make a huge difference. And I love ending the day in gratitude, like even just telling each other, like, what's something you're thankful for today that happened? I think is so powerful to model with them, because we so often can start running through all the things that didn't go well in our day. But it's about going through that treasure hunt in your day of like looking through some of the good things that happen, the yays, the things you can be thankful for, and they can be really small things that are just related to that one specific day. And then an extra bonus thing to do would be to start thinking about summer and making kind of that visual plan of a bucket list for summer. And I'll do a whole separate episode on that, on a summer bucket list. But thinking about those things is really a fun way and a good way to end the school year strong. So in ending the school year strong, you're going to help her feel more confident. You're going to increase her self-esteem and going like, okay, I can do this. Especially if you're like, we're in this together. I'm here to support you, whatever you need, and making a plan for what those things might be at this time of year. It's going to reduce not only her stress and anxiety, but also yours, because you're going to feel more in control of your piece, of organizing things, and having those positive habits in place are going to really help you feel more in control, even when things don't go well. And maybe that's when you add in some humor of like, well, that day did not go the way we expected. Let's try again tomorrow. And just having a little inside joke that can sometimes happen in those cases. And then, really just knowing that you're doing your best. I'm not a perfect parent. No one is expecting you to be, and she doesn't need a perfect parent either. Just being mindful of these things is going to help her tremendously. And asking her, what do you need? How can I support you in the best way possible at the end of the school year goes a super long way. And of course, if there's anything that you would like to add to this list of things that help you end the school year strong, I would love to hear from you. Send me an email at girlspositivityclub@gmail.com or message me on social media. I'm always open to ideas and tips that would help other families of girls. And I hope that you end this school year strong. And until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.